Hey everyone, welcome to Keto and Crime. Excuse me, Gen X marks the spot. I just had a brain fart and went back in time. I used to be Keto and Crime. I'm now Gen X marks the spot. Thank you for joining us tonight on Wednesday on what I like to call Hump Day Top 10 and Wednesday Night Newsroom with my good buddy Brian Trippett from the Front Porch Conservative. We're here to discuss briefly some top news stories of the day and then get into our bi-monthly top 10 tonight with St. Patty's Day approaching on Monday. We're going to be talking about our favorite Irish and Irish American themed movies. But before we get started, Brian, tell everyone about yourself and where they can find you.
Hello, and how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian O'Trippett. No, my name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and when this time of the year comes around, I do get a touch of the blarney. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Rumble. On YouTube, you can find me at Chatting on the Porch. And on Rumble, you can find me under my social media handle, The Front Porch Conservative. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Front Porch C1. I do discussions about politics, pop culture, etc., and so on. I do live streams, I do videos. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, would love to have your support. And while you're at it, this wonderful lady right over here, if you're not subbed to her, what the heck is the matter with you? She's got so many interesting things to talk about. You can just shake a stick at everything. So give us both a sub because we's hard-working souls out there in the internet fields. We thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I would love to have your subscription. I do true crime, history, fantasy-themed stuff such as A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, that sort of thing, movie reviews. Really whatever I want. I haven't been doing a whole lot lately. I've been in the transition of moving offices, as those of you that have watched me before can see, and just dealing with some internet problems and things that come along with that. But I am back and ready to dive in. And it's we missed last week, but it's great to see you again, Brian. Always a treat to host these things with you. And
Thank you.
Let's get into the top news stories, I think, for the first half. Hey, everybody. Hey, M16. Hey, Adam. I would love to get into whatever you think's the top story first, and then we'll kind of do another one, then we'll get into the top 10.
Well, here's one that I think is, to me, a precursor to something that's coming. And let me get into this. As you all are well aware, it has been in a well-lit room. Wow. Thanks, Adam. Gee.
Thanks, Adam. Well, I know my previous office. Let me tell you about my previous office. My previous office, as I just explained to Brian, was actually in the front room of our house, and I was literally behind the front door. So there wasn't a whole lot of light, natural light to be had. So we finally rearranged some things, and I'm back in one of the bedrooms with right under a window. And thanks to daylight savings time, which I'm still not a fan of, especially in the morning, but now I have some great natural light.
and believe it or not, she's got some Miller Lite too. I'm sorry. It was low hanging fruit. I couldn't help myself.
You had to do it. I would have really been mad if you'd said Bud Light. At least you went with Miller Lite.
Oh hell no! I have good taste. Well, anyway, to get back to what I was starting to say before the Canadian comedian over there just chimed in from the peanut gallery. As you all know, Trump has been issuing any number of different executive orders, the president, and every time he turns around, there is some judge that is, putting the kibosh on it. Well, recently, Trump issued an executive order stripping a law firm in Washington, D.C. of their security clearances, 𝗿𝗂𝘀𝗶𝗰. Now, if that name does sound familiar to you, 𝗿𝗂𝘀𝗶𝗰 is a firm out of D.C. It is one of the power players. Okay. Basically, they were involved with any number of different things over the years, one of them being the most famous, the Russian dossier folder that got handed around through varying and different parties. Okay. So, to try to rectify that problem, Trump stripped them of their security clearances. Okay. Well, lo and behold, Tracy, I'm going to throw you a link, and if you want to pop this up on screen, I'm going to send it to you in private chat. Sure. Turns out, and here it comes. Turns out that a judge today, get ready for the shock, you guys. A judge today has blocked President Trump's executive order revoking the security clearances from Russia collusion hoax law firm of 𝗿𝗂𝗀. Judge Beryl Howell was appointed by Barack Obama. And here we go. Now, I say that this is the prelude to something, and the prelude is this. Sooner or later, the Supreme Court or Congress or both of them are going to have to weigh in on this because this is out of control. I mean, look, regardless of whether...
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay. That's what she said. Get you anyway. Regardless of whether one thinks that Trump is right or
Trump... everyone. I don't have the best internet back here.
You're all good, dear. You know me. I may not be Irish in ancestry, but I definitely have the gift of the blarney. So anyway, whether you think Trump is right or wrong for pulling the security clearance of the individuals who work for this law firm, that's not necessarily the point. The point is this. What power does the executive branch actually have? Or maybe a better way of saying it is, does the president have the right to run the executive branch? And that's the problem that we've got right now. You have judges all across this country in one form or another who are basically saying, no, we don't agree with the actions of the executive. That's not the question. The question is the person who holds the presidency, whether it's Trump, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's somebody else, if they are acting in a lawful, constitutional manner, okay, does a lower court judge have the right to restrict them of their power to exercise what they feel is in their prerogatives as president of the United States? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, and this is what was so frustrating last week about the 5-4 decision that came down as it related to the USAID money. You had, and not even at the Supreme Court so much, but there was a fantastic point made by Justice Alito. He said, you mean to tell me that a lower court judge who more than likely doesn't even have jurisdiction over the issue of whether the president can withhold the spending of USAID money, you mean that judge can determine what the executive branch will and will not do? He said, this is crazy. That's why I'm saying this is ultimately headed for a fight at the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't know when it's going to happen. It'll probably happen this spring or probably in the fall, but this has got to get decided quick, because if we're not careful, we're going to go down the slope of judges just being like, no, I don't like that decision by the executive branch, therefore I'm going to agree with the plaintiffs and I'm going to block it. Regardless of whether the action is constitutionally permissible to the office of the president, it's like, oh, I just don't agree with it, therefore I'm going to block it. You're going to have a bunch of rogue judges absolutely running away with power they should not have. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, we've had that for years. We've had that for years. You can go back to all the way back to Roe versus Wade, if you want to go back that far. That was the decision of an activist court that was not covered in the Constitution anywhere, shape, or form. And anything that is not specifically covered in the Constitution is premise of the states. And Roe v. Wade should never have been a thing. You have it as recently as these rulings that we're talking about, as well as even, the constitutional, the Supreme Court ruling that made my marriage legal. One could say that should go to the states under the same premise. So we've had activist judges making activist rulings for a long time. The Supreme Court was never to make law, and that's what we turned it into. It was just to prevent runaway power from both the executive and the legislative branch, to see if the laws that they make and the executive orders they do are within the parameters of the Constitution. And that's exactly what these judges are doing. They're trying to block President Trump just because they don't like him. And the thing is, he has every right to run the executive. And any judge that is appointed by the executive, you know, any judge that is appointed by the executive and has, for example, he doesn't have the power to remove this judge or a judge just because he doesn't like the ruling. No, that's overstepping. But that's not what he's trying to do. But he does have the right to revoke the security clearance of a private law firm from having a security clearance within the executive branch of government. He does have the right to do that. And so the judge is way off bounds by trying to block that.
And again, a person can disagree with Trump's decision or disagree with it, that's fine. But the $1 million question is, in his function as the executive of the federal government, in his functioning as the president, does he have the right to make this decision? Well, if the answer to that is yes, then how can you have a judge, sit there and say, no, you can't do that? Well, why not? I mean, that's why I'm saying, and it's not just on this either. It's going to be on questions of spending. It's going to be on questions of, the removal or the elimination of whole departments of the government. It's going to be on so many different things. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see more power vested in one person or one branch of government any more than what they should constitutionally have. But if you're going to call the president the executive and say that the power of, and this is almost quoting the Constitution, that the power of the executive is vested in the president of the United States, then to me that means he has all executive power under the law and under the Constitution.
Yeah. Any department related to his cabinet is under his purview. If he wants to eliminate a whole department, unless that department was created by legislative action, he has every right to dissolve it, to change it, to whatever. And that includes firing federal employees. The problem is our government has gotten so big and so out of control that they seem to think just because the legislature votes on the budgets for these huge departments every year or every 4 years or how often they do it, that means they were created by legislative order. No, every single department of the cabinet was created by executive order, not legislative order. And the president has every right to dissolve it with the stroke of a pen if he wants to. And guess what? The next president, if he disagrees or she disagrees, has every right to bring it back.
Yeah. If they are acting within their constitutionally permitted power and they are not violating federal law doing it, then they can bring it back. They can absolutely bring it back. And frankly, this is something, and although the Democrats will never admit to this, if they were smart, they'd get in behind Trump on this one, not for the reasons why Trump is doing this, but sooner or later down the line, there's going to be a Democrat president again. May God help us, and then not be anytime soon. But there's going to be a Democrat president. If these judges right now are setting up the precedent that they can stop the actions of the executive, then what stops a bunch of Republican or conservative judges down the line? They get a lawsuit in front of them and they decide, you know what? I don't like what the Democrat president is doing. Let's just bring it to a grinding halt. That's where we're headed here. That's why there needs to be a once for all, and it won't, and I know it won't be just one decision. It'll be a bunch of decisions over the years, but something has got to start this process going forward. There's got to be one case before the Supreme Court to which they answer the question, okay, if this person is the president, that means they are the executive. Guess what? Here is what that means as far as what they can and what they cannot do. And settle this once and for all, because these judges are absolutely running away with power they should not have. So that's my thoughts on the whole matter. And, and with
Absolutely.
that,
And if anything, SCOTUS,
Mhm.
if anything, SCOTUS should be getting pissed off that they have to rule on all these cases. Because you've got these little judges making all these little decisions that they either have to reverse or uphold. I'm sure they're getting sick of having to rule on them.
Well, and that's
just set a precedent where it's unquestionable.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's like, how do I describe this? The Supreme Court right now is like, these lower court judges are like, a very small, irritating bite on your ankle. And the Supreme Court's like, I'm going to kick this thing, whatever it is. I want to punt this thing down the field if this doesn't stop doing this to me. And I think that's where we're headed here, because you're going to get a whole bunch of these decisions wrapped up, brought to the court, and go, okay, Supreme Court, what do you want to do here? And, for better or worse, they've got, if not the court, then Congress also has the authority to pass legislation and deal with this. But, I mean, they're very remiss to do so, and I can kind of understand why. But there's only one court that's constitutionally required, and that's the Supreme Court. That means Congress has authority over everything else. And they could bring this nonsense to a halt anytime they want to.
What do you call a government that's ruled by its judiciary? Is there even a term for that?
I have no. Well, I know what I'd call it.
Dictatorship or monarchy if it's ruled by one person. There's, republic if it's ruled by representative. It's a direct democracy if it's directly ruled by the people. The people have to vote on everything. I don't think there's oligarchs if it's,
I'd call it a judicial. I'd call it a judicial oligarchy. That's exactly what I'd call it.
Yeah.
So,
again,
here's a good term. There's a good term for it. Judgeocracy. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Judgeocracy. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy because, man, let me tell you, she's got a topic that's going to, oh my God, this one's going to get wild.
All right. Every time I think I can retire the tinfoil hat, here comes InfoWars with something else. But this is big, in my opinion, y'all. And it's kind of scary. Whatever your opinion is on InfoWars, whether they're just scammers, grifters, fake news, or if they're a real independent media source or just a source of entertainment, you've got to admit what happened just over the last 7 days has got to scare you to death.
Yeah.
You have 36-year-old Jamie White, longtime InfoWars contributor, reporter, and anchor, murdered, shot, dead outside his Austin, Texas apartment just before midnight on March 9th. He reportedly interrupted some burglars that were trying to target his car. At least that's what the police say, and he was murdered. Then on March 11th, another InfoWars host, Chase Gessler, was swatted at his home. Thank God no one was hurt, no one was killed. And now you have Alex Jones saying that he has good sources from those highly placed that this is a government conspiracy to end InfoWars. So I don't know, Brian. Did he just happen on a burglary and it went wrong? Was it a targeted? And then this guy was swatted. Is it the government? Is it a bunch of left-wing activists? What is it? I don't know. It's scary, whatever it is.
We were trading some messages back and forth on Twitter earlier before we got on here, and I said, and I truly do believe this: if just one member of Alex Jones's team at InfoWars had something bad happen to them, like this young man who unfortunately, tragically was murdered, you could say, all right, it's a horrible circumstance, but it's a one-off. Now, that young man was murdered on a Sunday night. Okay. And Alex and his people broke the news Monday during their broadcast. They waited until the police, notified family, released names, all that. So you got that. Then Monday night, Chase Geyser is swatted not once, but twice. Yeah, it's happened to him more than once, folks. Today, Alex Jones gets word from several people, one of them also being retired General Michael Flynn, that according to intelligence they're receiving, that Jones's life is in danger, and his family is in danger, and his people working for him in InfoWars are in danger. Now, if the other two hadn't happened, and Alex Jones came out with this, very gargantuan claim, I think everybody, regardless of whether you like Alex, don't like Alex, whatever, you could say, Alex,
I've been the first to go, oh,
yeah, we'd all be like, that's just Alex being Alex. 3 people on 3 different days. One gets killed, murdered. One is swatted so severely that if the police didn't know what was going on, they could have killed him. And then a threat to one's life, being given them indirectly. I think something's going on. I really do. And you and Tracy and you all know me. I do my best to avoid jumping to the conclusion, but I'm sorry. Once would have been a coincidence. Twice would have been very much against the odds. 3 times, you got something going on here. There's something up. And according to Jones, it's Ukrainian actors that are in this. From if I heard him correctly.
Well, you also have the DDoS attack that came down on X 2 days ago that was supposedly from a Ukrainian IP. Now, it's possible somebody could have been using a VPN and just disguised it as Ukraine. That's possible. But from Elon Musk's reports, he said it was just too targeted. It had to be a government or somebody connected to the government to be able to do what they did.
Yeah. I mean, it would make, if this is coming from actors inside of Ukraine, not just what's going on with Elon Musk, but the stuff related to Alex, it would make a lot of sense. I'm not going to lie. When I heard about what happened to Alex and his folks at InfoWars, well, let me back that up. When I heard what was happening with Elon Musk and Twitter, my first thought was, okay, you guys are saying it's from overseas. How do I know it's not from inside our own government? But,
That's what I'm saying. Even the NordVPN that I have on my computer, I could ping a server in Ukraine if I wanted to and make it look like I'm located in Ukraine. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from Ukraine.
Right.
But he said the strength of the attack, it was very organized. So it was either a government entity or some well-funded entity that was doing it. So that's clue number 1.
Yeah. And, and now you've got this that's going on with Jones. If this is related to Ukraine, I have said one of the driving forces about what's going on in that conflict is Ukraine, or more particularly, the government's desire to keep the fight going. And when I say the government, I don't necessarily mean that's confined to the government of Ukraine. I mean that's confined to NATO, to other state actors. They have to keep this going. If peace breaks out in Eastern Europe, that's a problem. Okay? Because...
But why? What is their end game? Is it really just money making? Is war that big of a money maker for these people that they can keep laundering money from it? Is that the sole end game, or is there something else more sinister? I don't know. What is their end game? I don't even understand that mindset. I can't mentally wrap my mind around that mindset.
I mean, if it comes down to a choice that the people that I am, like, let's just say that I were elected a leader of a European country, Okay. And I realize that American sensibilities and European sensibilities on a lot of issues are different. I understand that. But laying that aside, there ought to be a base instinct that you want to see your people living in as much peace and prosperity as you can possibly make. That the whole of your economy should not be built on a war footing, a perpetual war footing. Mm-hmm. And then if war does break out, homes are destroyed, cities are destroyed, infrastructure is destroyed, people are killed, and the cycle just keeps churning and churning and churning. I mean, and again, take it for what it's worth. All the Russians have ever wanted is they just don't want NATO up on their border. That's it. All the Europeans.
My wife said it best. All Russians want is to be left alone.
Yeah.
To live in peace. And they want to take our money, in the fact that they want to sell crap to Europe. They want to sell crap to the United States, and they want to sell crap to China, and they want to make money. That's what they want to do.
Which is perfectly fine by me. I got no problem with that as long as you ain't messing in my business. I'm not messing in yours. But that's just it. The more that I keep looking at what's going on in Europe, and the more I just come to the conclusion, man, we got some evil people running Europe. Macron, Starmer, Ursula, who's the head of the European Union. I'm sitting here going, is this all you want is death and destruction?
The president of the EU, that gives me the spooky dookies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just amazing to me that, all these leaders of these supposed Western European countries, they're supposed to have sensibilities different from the Russians. Man, I tell you what, I hate to say this. You ask me, who would I rule for if I were a judge in this thing? I'd be ruling for the Russians. The Russians are at least pretty consistent. It's like, all we want is just leave us alone. You guys just won't let it go. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the only one that holds that conclusion. I was watching the Duran the other day, which, by the way, if you're new to this live stream, we always give recommendations. At least I do anyway. When it comes to foreign affairs, 𝗟ecie𝗹𝗶𝗰 and Alexander Macoris are two of the best out there. So I recommend their channel. But Alexander Macoris was talking. He said, it is quite obvious the British have an absolute obsession when it comes to the Russians. And he said, and it's not recent either. This goes back decades, just absolutely decades. Oh yeah, and Lindsay, I absolutely agree with this. I absolutely agree. You're totally right. But I mean, the obsession of the British, and it's not just confined to the British either. The French are the same way. If Emmanuel Macron had his way about it, he'd be leading an army into Russia. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. He's got Napoleon tendencies. Mm-hmm. He really does. But I mean, I'm like you. I don't understand that mentality. Do you I want peace and prosperity for your people? Why do you always have to be in a conflict? Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But getting back to Al.
Like Lindsay says here, absolutely. China. I was about to say the real boogeyman is China.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the real boogeyman is China for the entire West, and we need to be drawing Russia closer to us and away from China. Make China stand alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which for
I
decades,
think is what Trump has in mind.
Mm-hmm. But to go back to Alex and InfoWars, man, I mean, like I say, regardless of whether you like Alex, don't like Alex, whatever, nobody, be it Alex Jones or any of the people that work for him, need to be going through this. Absolutely not. I mean, one young man's been killed. Another one got, like I said, if the police in Austin didn't know any better, they could have killed the kid. And Alex is now apparently under threat for his own life. If what he is saying is true, it's like, this is nuts. This is just absolutely crazy. Just because they believe things you don't. Yeah.
All because they're speaking out against a war.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And trying to give people information they may or may not have heard. That's the tragedy of it. And again, people can agree with Alex or they can disagree with him, whatever, that's fine. But, this is what we're resorting to now. We're going to get people killed because they don't hold your political beliefs.
This is not like World War II. This is not Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
This is not Nazi Germany invading Poland. This is nowhere near it. This is a historical conflict by two sides of the same coin. I'm going to piss off some Ukrainians when I say that, but you were once part of Poland, then you were part of Russia again. You've kind of been flip-flopping before, and then you joined up with the Nazis in World War II. You're kind of all over the place with your loyalties, but historically you have been part of Russia, and this is a territorial dispute between two former roommates. Let's just knock it down. This is an apartment, border conflict over two former neighbors, two former roommates. And it's been going on and on for years. And the reason that it has, escalated to the flashpoint is because the West, particularly NATO, did not keep their word that was given in the Budapest agreements.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And they were, let the citizens of the heavily Russian populated parts of Ukraine go to Russia. Let them go. Let them go.
Yep.
They want to be part of Russia. They don't want to be in Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I did hear correctly today, let me see if this is correct. I think, speaking of Russia, that ceasefire offer that the Ukrainians had agreed to with America, I think the Russians may have said, nope, we're not doing it. So we shall see.
Wow.
I mean, that's well, it's not official yet. I haven't seen anybody say it officially one way or the other. I just had read that briefly on Twitter, but yeah, I mean, yet to be seen. We'll see what happens, but I hope this conflict comes to an end.
There's no scenario where Ukraine gets those regions back. There's no scenario that leads to peace where they get the Donbass and they get that they get those places back.
Yep.
And they certainly don't get Crimea back. There's no scenario that leads to peace where that happens. They might as well just give that up. And I think Trump's already told them that.
Yep. Yep. And in one sense, you can understand the why. I mean, would the Russians want to go through 3+ years of war and God knows how many dead, and then, just say, well, okay, here you go, Ukraine, you can have all the territory back. Putin's not going to do that. No, and frankly, I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him at all. Mm-hmm. So, really crazy.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all the hard news that I had. I wanted to make people aware of. Now let's get into something a little more fun. Let's get into our top 10 Irish or Irish American themed flicks that you can enjoy on St. Paddy's Day if you don't feel like going to the pub, or if you come home from the pub and want to sit up a minute before you go to bed, check out some of these. So, Brian, I'll let you go first.
All right. Since St. Paddy's was coming up Monday of this coming week, we thought about, an idea of like, okay, we do top 10s. What movies should people see if they want to get a feel for either Irish culture, Irish acting, because there's a ton of good actors in this list. Some names you're familiar with, some names you're not, and, Irish culture in general. So we came up with our respective top 10 lists. The first one that I've got is a movie from the early 1990s called Into the West. It stars a couple of very young actors, Rodrigo Conroy, Ciarán Fitzgerald, and in the movie is also Gabriel Byrne and Ellen Barkin. Basically, it's the story of two young men in Dublin, Ireland, whose father is a widower, and he hard times and given to drink. But somehow these two young lads come to acquire a very legendary horse. And they're caring for the horse, or taking care of the horse, but then the horse is stolen. Well, the rest of the movie chronicles the efforts of these two young men to get the horse back. And I've got the trailer, which, Tracy, I don't know if you want me to throw this to you in private chat, or you want to just let me share screen over here, however you want to do it. But, I thought it might be nice to let people see this, at least get a feel for what the movie is like, and maybe they want to watch it, maybe they don't. But,
Go ahead. If you can share it, go ahead.
All right, will do. Give me 1 second here, folks. And yeah, it's a little 2-minute trailer. Let's see if this thing is going to let me do it. Oh, come on now. Surely you're going to let me share this. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, let me try that again. Hang on, folks. No, hang on. Let me try this one more time. Well, come on now.
I believe I may have lost my connection.
Okay. I can hear you, but I cannot hear you either. You're fading in and out on me. Or like I say, if you want me, oh, there it goes. Now we're back. Okay. All right. I'm going to put my mic on mute, and we'll let you guys enjoy the trailer to this. So with that, folks, check this out and enjoy.
All right.
What's his name?
He's called 𝗙𝗃𝗏.
But why is he called that?
Because he came from a land under the sea. Why he came was a mystery. My God, 𝗙cie, you must have the gift. But now 2 young brothers can ride into the West.
We were travelers once, Ted-and-Oak. We were like gypsies. Why are you talking to the horse? Why not?
We have reason to believe that you are harboring a pony. Is that true? A horse.
A man who was lost.
Your father was a great man, you know. King of the travelers. Is that what you want?
Can now find out who he truly is.
I knew you'd be back.
Oh, Mary. I need your help.
Papa! Stop them! Stop them, Papa!
They're heading for a place where magic still lives in the air.
I've lost me, boys. What am I going to do?
If they only believe it.
Where's this horse leading me? Why is he bringing me back to all the old places?
Oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Is it us they're after? Sure it is.
Them 2 boys never forgot the tricks of the travelers.
How did we get into this? It's not my fault. They're heading due west. The Wild West! Yeah!
And there you go, folks. I tell you what, it looks like a good family movie, something that everybody can sit down and watch together. So I highly recommend it to you. Check it out. You may enjoy it, you may not, but again, that makes my number 10. So with that, I'll pass it over to Tracy.
Well, that is neat. I've honestly never I've never seen that one. Okay, folks, something happened. Give me just 1 minute here to fix it. Whoops. 1 second, y'all. I do apologize. I'm not sure what happened. And he's back.
Okay, I promise I'm still here.
And he's back. I have no idea. I did not throw him out. It just crashed there for a second. I apologize, everyone.
Fine. Sure. I didn't throw him out. No. I'm just kidding. I'm
not
just
at all.
Like, mouthy asshole. I had to throw him out of here. Well, anyway, Into the West is my number 10 on the list. And with that, I'll throw it over to Tracy.
I had honestly never heard of that, so that's one I will check out. And I love horses, so.
Well, then I think this is a movie
ever heard
you're
of a
going to
white girl that likes horses?
There you go.
So, my number 10 is from 1999, starring William Dafoe, Norman Reedus, and Sean Patrick Flannery and Billy Connolly, Boondock Saints. It is the story of a group of Irish American men, fraternal twin brothers, that want to rid their Irish neighborhood in Boston of criminal element. And they go to war against both organized and organized crime. And if you love good indie shoot 'em up movies, then Boondock Saints is a classic.
Absolutely. I can totally agree with that. Yeah. I mean, so many memes, posters, t-shirts have been created off of the Boondock Saints. And yeah, absolutely great movie. Absolutely great movie.
And it was very low budget. I mean, it's one of those that it's a must see. If you're a fan of indie film, it's definitely a must see.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my number 9, and this goes to one of the traits that I have observed about the Irish. And I say this with all the love and affection, especially given that their national holiday is coming up. The Irish are the most bipolar people I've ever met. They're either very happy or they're all very sad, but either way, they're all drinking everywhere in between. Which brings us to the number 9 choice, which is a movie called Angela's Ashes, which is based on the novel, the memoir by its author, Frank McCourt, and tells the story of his family traveling. Normally, people were coming from Ireland to the United States. In the 1930s, they traveled from the U.S. back to Ireland. And this recounts some of the stories and the hardships that they faced as part of growing up in that era. Again, I've got the trailer.
Okay.
And again, the trailers are being shown to give you, if you've never seen these films or you've never heard of them, this gives you a flavor for what they're all about. So with that, as soon as it pulls up here, we will go ahead and share with everybody. The movie came out in 1999, and some of the folks that star in it you might recognize, particularly Robert Carlyle. So with that, as before, I will mute the mic and let you take a look.
Father's love's a blessing, no matter where you roam. Keep her while she's living, you'll miss her when she's gone. Love her as in childhood, though feeble, old and gray, for you never miss your mother's love till she's buried beneath the clay.
Anyway, well-recognized movie, award-winning as I recall. So yeah, I would recommend it to most anybody that wants to watch it. And like I say, it's Frank McCourt tried to be as honest about his upbringing as he possibly could. So it's a good old-fashioned tearjerker. I recommend it to anybody. So with that, I'll throw it over to Tracy for her number 9.
And that, yeah. No, and that's pretty indicative of a lot of the prejudice that the Irish faced in America. A lot of people don't remember there was such an influx of Irish after the potato famine that literally Irish people couldn't get apartments, they couldn't get jobs, they couldn't get any kind of housing, and a lot of them did return to Ireland as a result of that. They figured it was better to go back to Ireland and face the famine than to stay here and face prejudice. So it is a real tearjerker for sure.
Absolutely.
My number 9 is another. I think I see a theme here. Brian's are more the actual Irish experience, where mine are more Irish American experience. But it is the 1993 biographical sports pick, Rudy. Yes. About Rudy Rudiger, who was a walk-on player for the University of Notre Dame. Stars Sean Astin, Jon Favreau in an early role.
Ned Beatty.
One of the great sports movies, and I love sports movies too. Ned Beatty, just a great uplifting sports flick. I put it right up there with Field of Dreams and A League of Their Own. It's just really good, and it does give you that classic Notre Dame football feel, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The Irish Catholic experience in America, sports, Notre Dame, working class Irish Americans, just great. A great film.
The last 5 minutes of that movie are, don't get me wrong, the whole movie's fantastic, but the last 5 minutes of that film, if you're not crying at the end of it, I'm sorry, you just don't have a heart. I love you, but you need to get right with Jesus, because that last 5 minutes will make you cry, and it should.
Yeah. That actually, the real Rudy Rudiger has a cameo in that during the final game. If you look up behind Ned Beatty, who plays Rudy's father, you see the real Rudy Rudiger sitting right behind him.
I did not know that. I will have to check that out the next time I watch the movie. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my number 8 is one of those movies that you may not have heard of, but I think Tracy's right. I went for the Irish lifestyle movies, and Tracy went for the Irish American themed movies. So in the vein of Irish lifestyle movies, we have a film from the early 1990s called The Field. It stars the late Richard Harris, John Hurt, Sean Bean, and basically it involves the story of this old farmer goes by the name of Bull McCabe. Now, he's got to be an Irishman if he's got a name like Bull McCabe. And his family has been tending over this particular field for years. Now, when I say tending over the field, yes, they are farmers. And the widow who owns the plot of land, Bull McCabe is sort of under the impression that after all these generations that, if she ever did go to sell it, he'd get first dibs on the thing. Well, the old widow had other plans. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will share with you the trailer to it, because reading about the plot is one thing. Watching some of this is wholly something else. And I think you will get quite the kick out of this. So with that, enjoy the trailer to The Field.
Me an offer for this fine field, this green grassy pasture.
From the creators of My Left Foot comes a film as spellbinding as the land itself.
No outsider will bid for my field.
For the bull, it was survival, the very essence of his life.
This is what we'd be without the land buy.
For Tig, it was a matter of family loyalty.
Just to beat him. That'll keep him in his place.
For Maggie, it was tradition that must not be changed.
If you break, Tig is lost. Who look after the land?
For the bird, It was the one chance to finally make a difference. Now, a stranger has come to buy the field.
No, I cover this field with concrete, then I've got access to the whole shooting match.
This will be a fair auction, McCabe. I want no intimidation.
Nobody steps into that field without the bull's permission.
This field is mine.
Well, we'll see about that one.
American are setting bait and a bait you make.
You settle with that foreign bastard.
Let me fix the yak.
An outsider has come to bury my sweat and my blood in concrete. To shame me and the land. Turn around. Go home.
That field is mine.
The Field, starring Academy Award winners Richard Harris and Brenda Fricker, with John Hurt, Sean Bean, Francis 𝗙𝗏𝗪, Jenny Conroy, and Tom Berenger as the American. Written and directed by Jim Sheridan.
A little on the serious side, as you might suspect, but definitely, I mean, the star power in that movie is extraordinary. This is Richard Harris, not quite at the top of his game, but still in his best days. John Hurt is one of the best actors that ever came out of the British Isles. A young Sean Bean, a young Tom Berenger. Yeah, this is a good movie you're going to want to watch, folks. So with that, I'll toss it back to Tracy for her number 8.
Okay, this is where it's going to go off the rails a little bit for me. But for my number 8, I had 1993's Leprechaun. It is a comedy horror film directed by Mark Jones, starring Jennifer Aniston and Warwick Davis, as well as Dee Wallace. Just a great American Irish slasher. Basically, it's a magical leprechaun that has had his pot of gold stolen, and he will do anything to get it back, even slaughter people that didn't necessarily take it. But it is a great comedy romp. I can't say much for the rest of the Leprechaun movies. They're awful, but this one is actually a fun watch, and so I highly recommend it.
Okay. Yep. No, I don't think that one goes too far off.
And this is a role that Jennifer Aniston will never speak of.
Yeah.
Well, you can. I've seen her asked about in interviews, and she'll just change the subject. She won't even talk about it.
Now, wait. What year did Leprechaun come out? I'm assuming this is before Friends.
Yeah, way before Friends.
Okay.
But one of the Final Girls, as a horror movie buff, would be like I was a Final Girl, but not everybody feels that way.
Okay. Yeah. I remember, now that you mentioned Jennifer Aniston in that, I do remember a very young Jennifer Aniston in that role. I mean, it's been forever since I've seen Leprechaun, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you. It's a good Irish movie in its own particular way. You think the Irish are particular about their gold and their leprechauns? Well, watch this movie, folks. All right. For my number 7, 1992's The Crying Game, starring Stephen Rea, Miranda Richardson, Jay Davidson, and a host of others, including a very young Forrest Whitaker. The film follows Ray's character, whose name is Fergus, is a member of the IRA who had a brief but meaningful encounter with a British soldier, played by Whitaker. And what happens next is Ray's character develops an unexpected relationship with the British soldier's lover. And it's a movie that, for its time, won a BAFTA award for Best British Film, had an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting. I mean, this thing was in its day, up and down the line, lauded by critics everywhere. And with that, I've got the trailer pulled up, and if anybody wants to get a feel for what this movie's all about, or maybe they want to watch it, maybe they not, here you have the option to do it. So as soon as it pops up on the screen, I'll be happy to share the trailer with you. So it will pull up here momentarily, and I'm just sort of stretching this thing out until it does. So and there we go. All right, and with that, folks, here's the trailer to 1992's The Crying Game.
Take out my wallet. I want you to do something for me.
I want you to find her out. Tell her I was thinking of her.
Listen, there's something I should tell you.
Shouldn't I go? Yes.
Vincent Canby of the New York Times calls The Crying Game ingenious and exceptionally well acted.
You vanished quite effectively.
You know her, Jimmy.
Jimmy, is it?
Leave her out of this. You gonna tell me what's wrong?
No, not here.
Tell me the way things go. Never the way you expected.
Snap your W-2 and file your...
Yeah, that one raised a lot of kerfuffle way back in the 90s. I remember all the controversy about that one.
Oh, it did. This is probably not one you want to have the kids around for. This is probably for adults only. No. But you want to feel a feel for, again, a good Irish movie with a different sort of twist than The Crying Game, maybe something that you're looking for. But again, as we are responsible live streamers, please do not play this one in front of children below a certain age. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll throw it back over to Tracy.
All right. My number 7, I think, is one that also doubles up with one of Brian's, and that is 1952's The Quiet Man, starring John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, Barry Fitzgerald, and Arthur Shields. Just a great classic movie about, go figure, an Irish boxer that sets his eyes on his lady love, and it's just a great picture. I mean, it's John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. That's all you need to say.
Well, if funny, give me one second here.
Brian might have the trailer to that.
I do indeed. So yeah, give me 1 second. Ah, yes, here we go. Okay, I've got the trailer to it if you want to pop it up there. So let me know when you're ready.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, folks.
An Irish boxer, go figure, Brian.
All right, and with that, I'll mute my mic and let you guys enjoy this one because I think you'll get quite the kick out of it. It is an absolutely fantastic movie.
I'd like to tell you about The Quiet Man. He's John Wayne in a picture you'll soon be cheering. It's the story of Sean Thornton, a right-intended man who came from America to forget his past in Innisfree. There he met a fiery red-headed lass, and the village marriage broker went to work.
That's a pretty bonnet you have on.
Bonnet? Don't you be talking to me about bonnets after leaving mine stuck up there like a...
Easy now.
Have the good manners not to hit the man until he's your husband and entitled to hit you back.
Then her bully of a brother, Red Will Danaher, refused to pay her rightful dowry.
There'll be no locks or bolts between us, Mary Kate, except those in your own mercenary little heart.
Mary Kate left him to go to Dublin, but he caught her at the station and brought her back with the whole town watching him do it.
I'll pay you. Never.
Then the fight was on. A fight they're still talking about in Innisfree. It's a wonderful picture. The finest ever brought to the screen by John Ford, and he's won 3 Academy Awards. His direction makes unforgettable the performances of John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, Barry Fitzgerald, and Victor McLaglen.
Yeah, the last part of that you
they
were
don't
seeing.
make trailers like they used to do in the 50s.
No, they don't make movies like they used to make in the 50s. That fight scene that is alluded to is probably one of the funniest, liveliest, most entertaining things you have ever watched. I mean, you know, I could watch The Quiet Man for any number of reasons at the drop of a hat. But that, I mean,
yeah,
that last fight scene, I'll watch it over and over and over again. It's great. Just great.
But the great thing about this picture is just I know I don't mean this to be an insult to anybody, but Maureen O'Hara's over the top Irish accent versus John Wayne's over the top cowboy swagger. It just makes the movie so comical to watch from start to finish.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and then you've got a supporting cast, which around Hollywood was known as the John Ford Company. Victor McLaglen and all these great Irish actors who, if you watch any number of John Wayne movies, you can see him in Fort Apache. You could see him in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, The Quiet Man. Name the John Ford movie, and you'll see him. You'll see this group of actors in a John Ford movie. You know, you'd have Ward Bond, Victor McLaglen, all the rest of them, because not only did they like making movies together, they liked to drink together, which, you know, some of the orneriness that John Ford and his actors and actresses got into offset were the stuff of Hollywood legend. So, yeah, The Quiet Man is a movie that I could recommend anytime, any place, anywhere.
Absolutely. All right, over to you, good sir.
1, 2, 3, 4. My number, I guess it'd be my number 6 at this point, would be the film Veronica Guerin, which is based on a true story. The film is a 2003 bio-crime pick starring Cate Blanchett. It's the story of an Irish journalist who was covering the drug scene in Ireland, and she got a little too close to the flame, and it almost burned her for it. Cate Blanchett, Ciarán Hinds, a bunch of other really, really good Irish and British actors and actresses, and came out, as I say, directed by Joel Schumacher, 2003, and it got Blanchett a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Actress. So with that, I've got the trailer, and as soon as it pops up, we'll give you guys a flavor for this one. Again, from 2003, Veronica Guerin, and enjoy.
It's a waste of time when I'm writing. I'm a reporter. I'm supposed to be writing about things that matter. I have a great life. I have a great family. But I feel like I should be making a difference.
8 kids from this block alone died from drugs last year. All of them under 15.
Nobody's writing about it. Nobody cares. writing a story. You're my man.
What do you want to know?
What did you say to that woman?
Nothing important.
Here's the latest candidate, John Gilligan.
Can I ask you some questions?
That reporter is a liability.
Can't you nail him?
No proof.
You writing about the bad guys?
There's just one bad guy I'm after. It's the one who's up way past his bedside. Could the murders be drug-related?
You can't believe everything you hear, Miss Kieran.
If you saw those kids on the street, you would do the same.
If there was people shooting at me, I wouldn't.
You've been to my home. Maybe it's time I visited yours.
You gonna stop this now?
People get killed every day. No one's going to miss one more reporter.
I'm so scared.
Okay, I know.
You know, Veronica, sometimes it's braver to just walk away. Do you think I want to do this, do you? I don't want to do it. I have to do it.
He wants this to end before things get any worse. She's on her way.
How can it get any worse?
Things can always get worse, Veronica.
Veronica Guerin.
If I was to be intimidated, that means they've won. And they're not going to win.
Well, there you go, folks. Again, good thriller, a good flavor for Irish life, and again, based on a true story. So, again, I would recommend it to anybody who would watch it. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Tracy.
My number 6, I believe I'm also doubling up with you, Brian, is 1996's Michael Collins, starring Liam Neeson, Julia Roberts, Alan Rickman, and a host of others. Basically, the biopic, a historical biopic about one of the early civil rights activists in Ireland fighting for independence from the United Kingdom. And his tragic death paved the way for a lot of the terrorism we saw in Ireland in the 1980s with the reformation of the IRA. But if you see what they did to him, you'll understand why. And it is a great political thriller.
I've got the trailer if you want to watch it.
All right, let's. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so let's throw it up there.
All right, and here we go with Michael Collins. I had forgotten that Alan Rickman was in that movie, along with Julia Roberts. I'd forgotten that both of them were in that film. But yeah, absolutely, truly, truly a good story. I'd recommend this one to anybody, especially if you want to understand a lot of the early history of what went on between the Irish and the English in the early part of the 20th century. Great film. Absolutely great film.
And a little trivia for you. It remains one of the most expensive films ever filmed in Ireland. It was a collaboration between the United States, Ireland, and Great Britain.
Yeah, I can definitely see where that would be the case. Definitely see where that would be the case. But yeah, it is. It's a great movie. I mean, God, I cannot believe how young some of those people looked in that film. Holy cow!
I know.
Yeah,
I was a mere baby myself. I was 21.
I was 18. I was 18. Yeah. Oh, to go back now, knowing everything we knew. Go back then, knowing everything we know now. Oh my gosh.
You were 18 and I was 21. You're older than me.
No, wait. The film came out, what, 1990?
96.
Oh, 96. I'm sorry. No, that would have put me at 25, 26 years old. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. Okay. That sounds more like it. I kept thinking 1990 for some reason. I apologize. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. Well, on my list, next up is a fun movie, The Guard, starring Brendan Gleeson, Don Cheadle, Mark Strong, Liam Cunningham, and a bunch of others. It basically involves the plot of Gleason's character named Sergeant Jerry Boyle. He's an officer, and gets involved and teams up with an American to take down a drug ring in Ireland, and it's a fairly amusing way to go. So we've got the trailer, and as soon as it pulls up, we'll let you guys get a flavor for this one.
All right.
Film came out in 2011, and if Brendan Gleeson's name sounds familiar to you, he's been in all kinds of movies over the past, 30 years. First time I ever saw him was in Braveheart, but I think you'll recognize him when you see him. And with that, here's the trailer to The Guard.
Sergeant Jerry Boyle, cop shop.
Or was it a sheep or something? It's a lamb.
I mean, what would his parents think?
I've got some information about that murder last night.
What murder?
How many murders have you had in the last 24 hours?
That's for us to know and you to find out. Only wish I brought me handcuffs.
I don't think your mammy would be too pleased about that now.
To head in to attend a briefing from a fella who's over from the FBI.
Now, these men are highly dangerous, in the vicinity of $500 million worth of cocaine on board.
Yes, Sergeant. I thought only black lads were drug dealers and Mexicans.
Apologize to the man.
Apologize for what?
For your racist slurs, for one thing.
I'm Irish, sir. Racism is part of my culture. Only having a bit of fun, like. Don't mean nothing by it.
So I thought we might start by canvassing the neighborhood.
Chilly out, huh? Sorry, you lost me at we.
And I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
It was a Gaelic-speaking region. Can I teach you that at Langley?
How you doing, sir? Sir, Langley's the CIA, you idiot, not the FBI. Can't tell if you're really dumb or really smart.
You all right?
Milkshake headache.
Look at it, they're here.
You ever been shot before?
Yeah.
Does it hurt?
Did you grow up in the projects? No, I did not grow up in the project. I actually come from a very privileged background. Some in the Hamptons, skiing in Aspen.
Thought black people couldn't ski. Or is that swimming?
Yes, as you might expect. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, as you might expect, this one's probably a dark comedy, but I would recommend it. It's again, not necessarily for everybody, but again, Brendan Gleeson is absolutely brilliant. So yes, check it out. And with that, back to Tracy.
All right. My number 5 is from 1993, In the Name of the Father. It is a film by Jim Sheridan, and it is based on the true story of the Guildford Four Irish youth falsely convicted of the Guildford pub bombings in 1974 that killed 4 off-duty British soldiers and a civilian. And basically, it's a drama about their trial and the way they did not get a fair trial, and according to the filmmakers. And it's another one of those that taps into the violence of the Irish independence movement, including the IRA and other things.
Okay.
A good movie, but not a fun movie in that it's not a lighthearted.
Well, I was going to say, I've got the trailer if you want to see it. So, we can always pop it up there. But yeah, it's Daniel.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, again, I'll step aside, folks.
Lewis.
All right. And with that, folks, here's the trailer to
It was a time of innocence.
No property, no law, just love.
What should we call you?
Call me Wild One.
Once upon a time, you dressed so fine. Do the bumps of dime in your prime. Then you!
In the wake of the Guildford pub bombing deaths, the government has responded with emergency legislation and increased police powers of search and arrest.
Get him up! I have a right to speak to my son.
You are in trouble, Colin.
What are you charging me with? The murders of 5 people.
You're a good man! I taught you how to make the bomb, Jerry.
I didn't do this. What are you trying to do to me?
Stop, what are you doing in here?
Conspiracy to murder.
Their arrest was only the beginning.
My name's Giuseppe Con, and I'm an innocent man, so's my son.
Of a remarkable journey.
All of the defendants claim that they were subjected to physical and mental abuse while under police custody.
We're never harmed in any way.
How do you find the defendants?
Guilty as charged.
From the hands of a government.
This is your home for the rest of your life.
Who knew they were innocent.
What are we going to do now?
Nothing. To the heart of a lawyer.
This conspiracy of silence has kept my client behind bars for 14 years.
Determined to prove it.
They're as guilty as sin.
In the name of justice. In the name of truth. In the name of love. In the name of the Father.
Well, there you go. Again, looks like a absolutely fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Well, keeping in the Daniel Day-Lewis themed films, I've got one here that I think everyone will enjoy, or at least they've heard of at any rate, called My Left Foot. It's a 1989 film based on an autobiographical book about Christy Brown, who was an Irish writer and artist born with cerebral palsy, but he had a singular talent, and that is he could paint. Now, you would think with cerebral palsy, that wouldn't be so much the case. However, he is quite able to do so, and with a little bit of bloomin' luck, we have a trailer, and again, I'll step aside. Check out this one from 1989, My Left Foot.
This is Christy Brown, my son. Genius.
I'm
story of remarkable ingenuity becomes a triumph of the human spirit. My Left Foot, the true story of Christy Brown.
Go on, Christy. Go on, make your mark.
Born into a stricken body, Christy Brown made himself heard.
I don't fight Trippett.
Within his world of pain and despair, he discovered the power of love and beauty.
Christy is simply a great painter, full stop.
My Left Foot. Starring Daniel Day-Lewis in a landmark performance. My Left Foot. One man's tribute to the celebration of life.
That movie, I mean, look, Daniel Day-Lewis has given so many great performances over the years. It borders on the absolute ridiculous. But if anybody's going to watch one and they want to feel for what his acting is like, that's one of his best performances. So, folks, check it out.
Yeah.
And with that,
that
Tracy.
is the name of the father too, and
absolutely,
and being in a non-Irish themed movie, Last of the Mohicans is also one of my favorite.
Yep, absolutely. So with that, Tracy, you're up.
But my number 4 is kind of an unusual one for this list, but it is 2000 Turn to Me, which is a romantic comedy starring Minnie Driver, David Duchovny, and Carol O'Connor. It is about a construction manager whose zoologist wife dies in a car accident, and her heart goes to Minnie Driver, who is a young Irish American lady that works for her and her father's Italian restaurant. The running joke is they are an Irish family that owns an Italian restaurant, and he falls in love with her by virtue, according to the movie, of his former wife's heart being inside of her. But it is just a wonderful movie. The Irish family in it is just wonderful and loving, and Carol O'Connor sings Old Danny Boy in it, and it's a sight to behold. You should definitely check it out.
Well, we've got the trailer if you want to let people see it. So yeah, I agree with you.
Let's do it.
This movie is just chock full of really good actors and actresses. So, and with that, I'll step aside and check out this trailer from 2000. Return.
Look, I don't see what the big deal is. I mean, she had a heart transplant. I went with a girl once that had a club foot. I mean, she had the big shoe and everything.
Grace, come on. You can hardly see it anymore.
I just don't like all the questions, you know?
No one's going to notice your chest. You're not married, then, huh?
No, she passed away.
This is my friend, Bob. His wife is dead.
Hey, Robin! How are you?
Joe went and invited somebody over here like a blind date for you.
I already told him you've had some work done.
Thank God she's not a Buick.
Perfect guy. In fact, he had a transplant, too.
Well, I'm still in a little pain, but look how natural it looks. Go ahead, give it a tug.
Listen, I got somebody. She's got a great body.
I think your ass is ringing.
Do we know each other?
I think so. Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah.
Here, Robert, I want you to meet my granddaughter, Gracie here. Isn't she lovely?
Would you go out with me?
Yes?
Is that a question?
I met someone. I just wanted to tell you.
Lovebirds, Arthur. Let's play some Frankie Sinatra. Is it an earthquake or simply a shock?
I don't know what to wear. Whatever you do, don't shave your legs. Why? Then you definitely won't let it go too far.
Yeah, how do I look?
Tall.
Tall.
Is it a cocktail?
This is a game that all women play just to reel us in.
Sammy Sosa!
When I feel the real.
You're just gonna tell him. How do I tell him? You just, Bob, you know, I had a heart-warming dream about you.
Is it a fancy?
Oh, who died?
Bob,
He's married?
Joe, maybe you should put on a shirt or Grace will never be satisfied by another man.
I'm
Lego.
Oh God, I forgot that Jim Belushi was in
That
that
line
one.
from James. Yeah, me too. That line from Jim Belushi when he says, "Oh, I told him you had some work done." His wife goes, "Good God, she's not a Buick."
Oh God. Oh my word. Too funny. Oh yeah, I mean Robert Loggia, Carol O'Connor, Duchovny, Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver's a fantastic.
One of his last roles.
Yeah. Well, actually, I believe it was Carol
Y'all
O'Connor's
know
last
my
role.
opinion on David Duchovny.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's an absolutely great film. Truly, it is. So yeah, high, 2 thumbs up from the 2 thumbs up from us. So
The Irish family owning an Italian restaurant is just beautiful.
that's priceless. That is priceless. So yeah. Well, the last one the last one on my list is from 1959, and if The Quiet Man is one of the definitive movies that give you an idea of Irish culture, but is also a film made from a much better era of Hollywood, then this one would probably fall in that same category. 1959's Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Some actors and actresses you may or may not recognize, and one very young actor just before he hit superstardom. So I've got the trailer for it. And honestly, for its era, the special effects in this movie are amazing. They really are. But this is just good old-fashioned Hollywood, and this is good old-fashioned Walt Disney films at its best. Yeah, truly so. It sounds like Gremlins in the background, or am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that is Teddy.
Oh, Teddy. Okay, it's Teddy. All right. So with that, folks, from 1959. Teddy the Poodle. So, which is probably related to Minnie the Moocher. But anyway,
yeah.
Enjoy 1959's from Walt Disney Pictures, Darby O'Gill and the Little People in 3, 2, 1.
And the moon was no, and the mountain was covered with mist. And the moon was no bigger than the light from a halfpenny cat. But it didn't hide him from me. For there he stood with an angry little goblin, and his face as fierce as fire. King Brian, my old boy, oh, I've got you at last, and I'm not going to let you go until you grant me the favour of 3 grand wishes. Granted. You're looking at Brian of 𝗥𝗏𝗁, king of all the leprechauns. You ought to see him with his little gold crown and his red beard, and his 2 eyes leaping from his head like flames.
Michael, I'd like to talk about Katie.
In the old ruins on the top of 𝗥𝗏𝗁, and there were the little people dancing all around in the moonlight.
Well, aren't they the bold creatures?
Kiss her. Kiss her. Go on, kiss her.
I've heard enough silly blather about little people to last me a lifetime.
What kind of man are you at all that doesn't believe in the little people?
I declare to me soul, when I tell them this down in the pub, they won't believe a word of it.
You can't do that, Darby. Once you're here, there's no going back.
I gotta get back to Teddy.
Darby, this is Michael McBride. I've decided to settle him here in your place.
Why didn't you tell me?
Your father made me promise that I wouldn't.
The Banshee. Brian! King Brian! What is it, man? The death coach! Send it away!
Oh, she is my dear, my darling one, her eyes so sparkling full of fun. No other can match the likes of her.
Oh, he is my dear, my darling one, his eyes so sparkling full of fun. No other can match the likes of him.
He is my dear, my darling one, my smiling and beguiling one.
I love the ground he walks upon,
The
Irish
Now, if I couldn't recommend The Quiet Man to anybody, then I would most certainly recommend Darby O'Gill to anybody. And yeah, it's one of the first. Yeah, it's absolutely. I see Lana's comment in chat. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Yeah, and honestly, for 1959, the special effects on that film are really extraordinary. They really are. They are various things that you see. It's very, very well done. Very well done. So yeah, I would recommend that one to anybody.
Special effects in the 40s and 50s weren't anything to sneeze at. I mean, look at what they were able to do in The Wizard of Oz. That tornado was actually handmade.
Yeah.
And, Ben-Hur, Planet of the Apes, they did some extraordinary special effects in the early days of Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely. And, today we've got CGI, we got computers, we got everything else. I'm sorry that I could make an argument.
It's easier today to do special effects.
But I could make an argument.
Any movie that does practical effects is automatically 10 times better than one with CGI.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's like, acting against a green screen or acting on a stage. Most actors would prefer, give me something that I can see my surroundings, that I know what I'm interacting with, But yeah, I mean, Darby O'Gill, probably one of the best films you're ever going to watch. Truly.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
That was back when Disney knew how to make movies.
Yeah. And it was all about the story. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And with all the double ups, I mean, that's pretty much got all of mine. That was one of my last one. That was my last one too. So, yeah, that concludes our fun little romp through Irish and Irish American themed movies just in time for St. Paddy's Day. So with that, I guess we'll bring this on into the station. And until we meet again, I believe next week on your channel, which will be back the normal Wednesday night newsroom.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Special appearance by Teddy. So with that being said, I guess we'll bid you a fond farewell until next time. I'm Tracy Barkley with Gen X 𝗙𝗂𝗀 Spot with my good co-host. Introduce yourself one final time.
My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And until we see you next Wednesday, may you all have a happy St. Paddy's Day with your families.